And now we're set for the final showdown. It's race number 44. Who is going to take the spoils? Was there a
Someone down at the back of the grid there.
There is. It's Frankie Morbidelli.
Yeah, Morbidelli's dropped it before he's even got to his grid position. He's due to start from 7th. They might have to delay the start for this if they can't get him off the grid.
Well, they're going to, Luca Marini, I think, might be considered. Well, did Marini get tagged? I mean, what's happened here?
Oh, he clips Aleix Espargaro, isn't he? Yeah, Aleix turns around and says, what on earth happened there? They've run into each other on several occasions before, but never on the warm-up lap.
Unbelievable. Absolutely incredible. I mean, there's going to be maybe some potential debris on the circuit. He's checking his left hand, isn't he, as well? Frankie Morbidelli. Can you believe it? Drama before our final Grand Prix of this milestone season. It's lights out, and we are racing minus Morbidelli at the moment in this final showdown here in Valencia. It's another brilliant start from pole position by the Aprilia of Marco Bezzecchi. Let's hope he doesn't go the wrong way on this occasion as he did in the sprint. The Gian Antonio drops across the nose of Pedro Acosta, so Didier had on a good start there in second place. Jorge Martin's wide at the back of the group on the factory Aprilia, but Bezzecchi this time around has got that front hole shot device disengaged, and he leads early on here in Valencia after all of the grid drama.
Miller was launching it up the inside there of Joan Mir as we see contact there. That's Bagnaia and Zarco, and that really does cap off Pecco Bagnaia's miserable 2025.
Deary me, I'm not really sure what else we can say to describe what has happened to Pecco Bagnaia in 2025. It didn't exactly start in great fashion. It's finishing in an absolute disaster. He can't believe it.
Yeah, just be glad it's over, Pecco.
4 corners into this final Grand Prix, and he's in the gravel, he's in the dust, he's frustrated, he's dejected once again. Pecco Bagnaia cannot wait to see the back of 2025. It has been nothing short of a disaster. Well, Frankie Morbidelli's farewell to 2025 was pretty much over before it even started.
Johann Zarco has a long lap penalty. We haven't seen a replay of that, but clearly the stewards have, and they deemed Johann Zarco responsible. So now 2 of the 4 Hondas in the field, or the 5 Hondas, have got long laps.
Saw Zarco out wide on the exit of turn 2, and as he obviously was trying to recover a bit of lost ground, just a little bit too aggressive going into turn 3 and 4, and that has cost Zarco a trip through the long lap penalty. Poor old Pecco Bagnaia. You can see Zarco on the outside of 3. He's going to dive bomb Quartararo.
Wow.
I mean, that is a long lap penalty. No wonder the stewards have been quick to react to the Zarco dive. I mean, it was Agura that also had to sort of take evasive action. Wow. I mean, he's properly cleaned out that Pecco there, hasn't he?
And held up Quartararo too. Look top left of your screens though. Now we can see it full screen. Raul Fernandez has passed Fabio Di Gianantonio on this lap up into 3rd place now. I think he took him into turn 6. So we've now got Aprilia's 1st and 3rd. Already this group are already a 2.5 seconds near enough off the race lead.
Let's hope that Morbidelli's not put himself out of the all-important Tuesday test with that calamitous pre-race incident with him and Aleix Espargaro. He would have been due to ride the GP25 here on Tuesday. He started his prep work for 2026, but a bizarre and somewhat embarrassing departure for the Italian. Martin, just for reference, has just completed now both of his long laps for his sprint disaster with Bezzecchi over in Japan. On board then now with Acosta. We go through the right-hander of turn 10, and now he's going to seize that inside line under Gian Antonio. Gian Antonio is reversing the wrong way, isn't he, early on in this Grand Prix. Acosta now picks him off for 4th.
And if Pedro Acosta had any hopes of winning this Grand Prix, he had to make that move because the top 3 were already starting to move clear. Joan Mir has now served his long lap penalty, so that promotes Miller up to 7th, and Luca Marini now runs 8th, and clear, of course, of the teammate who ran into him yesterday.
No problems, no dramas so far for Bezzecchi. Still well and truly on course to be Aprilia's first ever back-to-back winner. Now look at this.
I mean, Aleix Espargaro does a stoppie, but he's in his grid box, so I don't think there's anything wrong with what Aleix Espargaro did there.
Not at all.
Frankie Morbidelli just not concentrating.
Not at all. I mean, Aleix, he looks, as we all were, completely baffled and bemused. Look at the damage there. That was from the contact to Morbidelli's left side of his bike, and it's the left hand which is causing the problem. There's damage here, isn't there, as well, to Aleix Espargaro's factory Honda, is there? Yeah, look, what's that just got flipped off? Some bodywork, smoke. Obviously something was rubbing on the hot exhaust there or something. Aleix Espargaro despite that drama, he's still on circuit. He's actually in the point scoring place and doing actually a pretty rapid pace is Aleix on that experimental RC213V. He's just on a 1:30.633, which was only 0.2 slower than Bezzecchi on that last lap. So whatever damage there was to that test rider Honda machine, it's not costing Aleix Espargaro too much time on track. Well, last weekend in Portimao, from pole position, he got the dream start, and then he didn't have to see anybody else's rear tyre at the Algarve International Circuit. So has been the case once again here today in Valencia. Yeah, Alex Marquez clearly at the moment has not got the pace to go with Bezzecchi, and behind him, 0.2 quicker on that last lap, was Fernandez. 3 abreast almost go Miller, Marini and Aldeguer. That's Marini working his way through on Aldeguer, so he's now up into 7th place. Aldeguer, though, as he tried to tough it out with Miller at turn 2 yesterday, dives back on the inside of the Italian going into 2.
Yeah, Miller briefly putting a bike between himself and Fermin Aldeguer. That lasted for all of about 2 corners before Aldeguer also got past Luca Marini. So now they're 6th and 7th, 43 and 54. Marini now the leading Honda in 8th. Joan Mir, he's now past Miguel Oliveira. He's up into 12th place and doing 30.6s, which is only a 1/10 of a second slower than Bezzecchi's going. They've not necessarily shown it at all times this weekend, but in race trim, these Hondas are pretty quick.
Ralph Fernandez, this has been coming. This has been coming as Alex Marquez fades out of victory contention here. Struggling to get that rear tyre hooked up on the exit of 14, and Ralph Fernandez then, Justin Marks, Trackhouse boss pre-race, said they expected Raul to be in the fight for the podium. Well, that assessment was bang on the mark, wasn't it, as far as Trackhouse are concerned? Ralph Fernandez now up into 2nd. The problem is, has he let Bezzecchi get too far up the road in terms of the victory?
To the Aprilia 1-2 now in this final Grand Prix of 2025. Boy, have they ended this season in strong fashion, with victories already in Phillip Island with Ralph Fernandez and in Portimao with Marco Bezzecchi. Bez has also won his fair share of sprints in that time. Ralph Fernandez comfortably up the inside of Alex Marquez, who had absolutely no answer to that. He is now doing 1:31s, and he's now locked in, I think, for a rather lonely 3rd place.
Classy, clean move that by Ralph Fernandez. I think Alex had sensed that he was there. He'd sensed that Fernandez was probably going to be that little bit quicker down the hill, so he made sure that he gave his fellow Spaniard plenty of room. Didn't want to yield the position, of course, but he didn't want to instigate any contact as well. We've had enough of that already so far this weekend. We saw some contact even before it was lights out for this final Grand Prix between Morbidelli and Aleix Espargaro. The Gian Antonio, well, hasn't really taken any advantage from that front row start. I mean, he was 3rd in the very early part of this Valencia Grand Prix, but the Gian Antonio just has not had the pace, not had the rhythm, has he, at all? He's 5th at the moment. He could get 1 place better as he starts to close back in on Acosta, but I think we expected Digit to figure a little bit more in that top 3 battle.
And what's weird about this as well is Acosta's suddenly now doing the fastest times. He's the fastest rider on track now, outside of Fernandez, who's just on a 30.519. Matched by Acosta, who did a 30.5 of his own. He's now going half a second a lap quicker than Alex Marquez in 3rd place. So I said a moment ago, Alex locked in for a lonely 3rd. Might not be lonely for much longer, with Acosta taking half a second a lap, and he's dragging Gian Antonio along with him. But Jorge Martin retires from the Grand Prix, receives a round of applause from his team. Much more to come from Jorge Martin in 2026. You can bet on that.
Through 6 we go, and at the moment Gian Antonio maybe just creeping back into this little battle, so it may well be soon a 3-rider fight for 3rd place in this Grand Prix. As Costa is getting just a little bit impatient here, isn't he? Maybe just getting sucked into the slipstream of Alex through the kink of 7. He had to be really careful there, because you could see the dust he was kicking up way offline going through 8. If he'd have just tapped the power back in that little bit too early, he could have easily gone down the road there, Acosta. He said he had a lot of front locking going into that turn 8 yesterday, didn't he, in the sprint? Maybe that's what cost him a bit of precious time there, losing time to Alex and also lighting up the eyes once again of Digia.
Yeah, we're going to have a 3-way battle show, but look how quickly he's just jumped on the back of Alex Marquez's rear tyre once again. Clearly, he is a lot faster than the 73 if he can just find a way past, because the 2 Aprilias at the front are doing 1:30s, but Alex Marquez now doing a 31.2 in 3rd place. He's a half a second a lap slower than the race leader, a 30.7 for Gian Antonio. Half second lap, he'll be right on top of these 2 at the end of this lap.
Yeah, this is turning into a pretty dramatic ending for the final place on the podium, isn't it? Look at Di Giannantonio, just look at the ground he makes up on the brakes going into turn 2.
Turn 4 maybe.
Can Acosta then, he's going to try and go for the inside line, yet through on the inside of Alex Marquez. He goes, Alex Unoa is going to try and fight immediately back. Acosta goes super defensive as they run into turn 5. So once again, Pedro Acosta finds himself putting that KTM. How on earth does he keep on doing it? More giant killing coming here from Acosta, and what is a KTM at the moment that's nowhere near on par with the 2 Ducatis behind him, but somehow Acosta's making it work once again.
Ducati's only hope of a podium might well be Digia, and he comes through, and Alex Marquez, who has to check up to avoid running into Fabio Di Giannantonio. That move was also coming, and Digia now takes 4th.
Well, as strong as he was yesterday in that sprint, Alex, I mean, this has been one of his sort of poorer Grand Prix of the campaign. They've been few and far between as he's completed that 1-2 for the Marquez brothers. Alex had a look over his right shoulder there, didn't he, just to see, well, is there any more trouble coming from behind? I think he can relax because he's well clear of his teammate Fermin Aldeguer. Ralph Fernandez, well, he keeps pushing and trying to close this gap on Marco Bezzecchi, but Bezzecchi's just got it stabilised, hasn't he? It's still around 7 or 8 tenths of a second. He just cannot get it down to under 7 tenths. Fernandez, he's trying everything, but Bezzecchi just faultless and flawless at the front of this Grand Prix.
Our other returnee from injury has now also pitted. Maverick Vinales, who I did spot, dropped a load of places on the previous lap. He has also now pulled in with 4 laps to go. Whether that's mechanical or physical, we'll have to wait and see, but Vinales is out.
So Hervé Poncheral's final MotoGP race. Fabio Quartararo's crashed out late on here. Quartararo was in 11th place. He's gone down at turn 6. Oh dear. Well, Fabio Quartararo, we know how hard he's pushing because he doesn't tend to throw that Yamaha to the scenery very often, does he, Fabio? That's going to be his first Grand Prix DNF since Aragon.
Yep, turn 6, catching the Frenchman out. 3 laps to go then, as they now come across the line. Marco Bezzecchi does now cross the line, and his advantage cut to just 4 tenths of a second. Just how much is Ralph Fernandez prepared to risk? He might as well risk it all really at this stage to take victory, but of course Aprilia won't want to see 2 of their riders come together with a 1-2 just a couple of laps away.
Been brilliant. Ralph Fernandez in this Grand Prix has been everything as good as he was in Phillip Island when he won the race, to keep this pressure on Marco Bezzecchi. He really has grown in stature, hasn't he, in the second half of this season, Ralph Fernandez. It started once again in painful fashion. Once again, he got an injury at the opening test in Sepang, put himself on the back foot for the opening Grand Prix. He's carrying an injury here this weekend. I mean, at the moment, it's just pure adrenaline that's keeping Fernandez in this battle for the win. It's pure skill and talent at the moment that's keeping Acosta on this podium. Di Giannantonio, he will know. He's been close enough now to Acosta to just work out the master plan. Where's Acosta strong? Where's Acosta weak? And where can I maybe try and wrestle this 3rd place away from the Spaniard? He's got time. Doesn't need to rush it. Doesn't need to hurry here, does he? 2.5 laps remaining.
Acosta is still setting a pretty fast pace, which is why it's not been an easy overtake for Di Giannantonio in the same way that it was when he caught Alex Marquez. The top 4 all doing 130s, 130.8s for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Bez a 30.9. That sort of pace should just about be enough for Bezzecchi to hold off Ralph Fernandez. Likewise, should be enough for Pedro Acosta to hold up Di Giannantonio, as long as he doesn't make mistakes like that into the final corner. Di Giannantonio now with a run at him.
Just look how hard Acosta's having to push to keep Di Giannantonio behind him. Surely that would have cost Acosta a bit of exit speed on the run down to the first corner, but he's so good, so late on the brakes into 1. There's nothing that Di Giannantonio can do at this stage. You can just see the top 2 there going through turn 2 in the left-hand corner of your picture. The advantage between Bezzecchi and Fernandez came down again, not by much, but Bez once again straying briefly back into those 131s, and here comes Di Giannantonio. Here comes the move. Into turn 4 we go. Acosta tries to lean on the Italian. No way back through into turn 5. Di Giannantonio then trying to keep a Ducati on the podium for the 88th Grand Prix in a row. What an ending to the season he's having on the factory Aprilia. Aprilia never had back-to-back victories in MotoGP. That record's about to be ended by Bezzecchi, who's on course himself for his first back-to-back wins. Surely he's going to hold off Fernandez.
Looks like Di Giannantonio has 3rd place covered. Acosta has settled for 4th place, but Marco Bezzecchi on course at the moment. He's 2 corners away now from his first double.
Down the hill we go then into the final corner. Just one corner left in 2025. Marco Bezzecchi, a twitch on the front end of the factory Aprilia. The Valencian Grand Prix started with a 27th birthday cake for Marco Bezzecchi. It finishes with the icing on the cake in 2025 as Bez wins the final Grand Prix of the season. The fireworks erupt in the background. Raul Fernandez completes a brilliant Aprilia 1-2. A stunning end to 2025 for the Trackhouse talent. Fabio Di Gianantonio, well, he should be getting a pay rise right now, and a big bonus from Ducati as he does make sure Ducati are represented in Parc Ferme once again in 2025.
Bezzecchi caps off a brilliant campaign with back-to-back wins in Valencia. Raul Fernandez gets a podium and Fabio Di Gianantonio also on the rostrum. Acosta, Aldeguer and Alex Marquez all missing out in the top 3, but inside the top 6 ahead of Marini, Binder, Miller and Bastianini.